Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And today I wanted to actually cover, especially this first person that Jillian interacted with. I want to talk about it activistically. So, again, talking about or reacting to Jubilee, there's often copyright and all that crap. I'm an activist first, so sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and there's so much utility to this conversation, and we're going to get into the entire thing. There was really nothing else that I felt was worth covering as much as this. So what we're going to do, I'm going to teach you guys about, first of all, some of the problems involved with the E followed by the letter D clinic side, because I think that this first person is actually more common than people would like to think. I think that people have an idea for people to just go to therapy or go to especially E followed by letter D therapy, but it is compromised by fat acceptance. In terms of my metaphor, I talk a lot about The Last of Us. I have started to separate different types of fat acceptance slash E followed by the letter D people into different categories of zombie infection. And so what I need you to understand is, first of all, what these are. So this video she really exemplifies a runner. So a runner is the first stage of infection. Within the metaphor, it has to do with somebody who is an enabler of somebody with E followed by the letter D. It has to do with somebody who is either close to the issue or maybe even subclinical themselves. So they're not fully in it, but they're like a step or two away. But regardless, they have beliefs. They have E followed by the letter D beliefs. Now on my channel, because of YouTube and censorship, due to YouTube working with NEDA, N-E-D-A, it is like an ED organization that is also compromised by people with the issue. They censor people from talking about this issue at all. And that's why you have to start saying things like downsizing. You have to say things like upsizing, downsizing. You can't mention specific deficits and things like that. You can't do that on YouTube because of a zombie compromised NEDA, N-E-D-A. Look up the organization so you can at least know who is censoring you on YouTube or who is censoring your favorite creators. So basically, because of that censorship, I call E followed by letter D on this channel the toxic ritualistic, or the TR for short. It is all of them. So whether you're talking to Anna, to Mia, or to Bingo, Bingo as a stand-in for B-I-N-G-E, that is all within the TR. I call it the TR world, or lately this year I've been calling it the zombie horde. That has to do with the community, the E followed by the letter D community, the people that are within the issue that are leading fat acceptance. The goal is to make everybody as fat as they can, both from a Anna slash Mia overt competition standpoint. So if they can get most people to be class 1 obese or mid-size in the United States, that will make them feel better or more competitive. Or from the BINGE side, that person can look at somebody who's mid-size and be triggered into a bingo, basically. So they can look at that person, see it, get reinforced. They can either look at them and say, oh my gosh, they're not snatch, so I feel better about myself. Or they can look at them and say, oh my gosh, they're thinner than I am, so I'm upset. But either way, they'll feel encouraged to stay within the issue. So you have to understand it's not logical. It is communal though. So people don't understand that E followed by letter D, there is like reinforcement that happens within it. There is a social world around it. It is not the whole world, but it's a sard. I don't know what I'm saying. It's a sizable minority. That's what I would say, of people that are within the issue. So within that context, this first person, this E followed by letter D therapist, is a runner. So somebody who believes the talking points, somebody who believes the fat acceptance slash E followed by letter D logic, but perhaps never was fully in it or is not fully, like maybe they're subclinical or they're just not quite actually in it themselves, or maybe they're not there yet, depending on how far a zombie infection goes within a person. So I'm sorry, I know that's a very long explanation, but this video is activistic in nature, so I need you to understand that I'm trying to educate people on what is going on, okay, within the confines of censorship and all that stuff, which people don't like to acknowledge that that happens either, but it does. So this is not an issue that's going to go away with blind trust of institutions, because people with these issues tend to go into these institutions and infiltrate them and take them over. So I just want you to be aware of that. It's not necessarily like a grand government conspiracy, but it is a mental health issue conspiracy. It's people who have these mental health issues pushing it onto other people. And like I said, the main goal is to get the general public to gain as much weight as possible. That is the actual goal, for comparison reasons and competition reasons. That's literally what it is. So if you can understand that, then you can at least not be vulnerable to it. And that's why I'm talking about it. Okay? And if you're so inclined, you can push back against it too. So let's go ahead and cover this runner. I got my weapon in hand. We got a runner. We got a zombie on our hands. We're going to go for it. Now, Jillian, she is triggering to the zombie horde in and of herself because she was on The Biggest Loser. And that show has become a rallying cry, especially since the Netflix documentary, for the zombie horde to say their talking points, to jump on people and start attacking them. And if you look on Instagram or anything, if you look in any online spaces, any clips or reactions to this whole thing, it is filled with zombies, filled with them, with their bad takes, with weird takes. They'll gaslight you. They'll lie to your face. You know, they'll runners will usually try to appeal to empathy. So they'll usually be like, well, da, 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 I'm so nice. That's more of a runner thing, which we're going to get into, as I haven't covered that enough yet on my channel. But you'll see all kinds of zombies. You'll see the bloaters. You'll see the clickers. You'll see the stalkers. You'll see all of them. But we're going to focus on the runners in this video. I still am working on a video to describe the entire state of war of anti-FA. I am going to do that very soon, within the next month. So I will be creating a glossary and all that stuff, and we'll get into it, okay? But for now, let's go.
That obesity is not healthy, and pretending it is puts lives at risk.
Yes, fact. I do love how nobody wants to run. Sorry, I know that's shady, but I had to say that because it is.
If you want to be the first debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi.
So she's a very good example. I often would say this. I've been doing this activism for years. So one of my talking points I'd say is people will jump in front of a moving vehicle to prevent an obese person from taking accountability. She quite literally is doing it right now, basically. Not literally, but she literally ran. She's a runner. She actually ran. So she's literally running. I do like the visual representation of what people do for this issue. Oh my gosh, like some people, they just love to enable obesity. They are just so, honestly, at times even turned on by it, if you want to be real about it. There is that whole community too.
Nice to meet you.
I'm an eating disorder therapist.
I'm going to do my best to not use the O word because I find it pretty offensive. So I'm going to use fat-bodied.
So that is her just signaling to the zombie horde around her, because you have to remember there's all these zombies around her, and they're all different categories of zombie around. But she's basically, it's like a virtue signal, and she's saying, I'm one of you. You don't have to fear me. I am with the horde. That's basically what that's for. So it's not for the general public. She's not at all focused on the general public. But a lot of times zombies think that the general public is the zombie horde. Like they can't differentiate all the time. But that's what that's for. A lot of people don't understand that. They're like, why is she saying that? Or they're like, wow, that's really dumb. And it is really dumb. But it's kind of her attempt at saying, I'm one of you. It's a signal. And so then the rest of the zombies are like, okay, she's one of us. We can control what she says. Remember that within E followed by letter D, it's all about control. So it's about controlling speech, but it's not just about speech. It's about controlling the person. So it's signaling to the zombies, you have control over me. You don't have to be fearful. That's basically what she's saying.
As we talk.
Okay.
Do you understand why people find it harmful?
Now she's saying, I want to control, I'm going to try to exercise zombie horde control over Jillian. So then she's saying, I'm willing to fight for you, zombies. Do you see? Do you see the context or the kind of nonverbal communication that goes on in the zombie world? That's what she's saying here. So I'm going to challenge Jillian because she's the evil villain. She's the triggerer. She triggers you. She triggers the E followed by the letter D in you. So I'm going to show that I will challenge her. So I'm really showing that I'm on your side. So do you see how aggressive that is? It's a super aggressive stance within zombie communication. She's saying, I'm one of you because I won't use the O word. And then she's challenging Jillian and saying, I'm going to try to get her to cave to the zombie horde demand. So I will challenge another non-zombie or another non-E followed by the letter D person for you. So I will literally be a runner for you. I will run cover for you. That's what she's saying. So that's what she's communicating very quickly. So zombie communication goes really fast. I need you guys to understand. The reason I know these things is because I was in the issue for so long and I was severe. I was a clicker, which is basically severe. So I understand what she's saying. So I need the general population to understand why she did those things. That's exactly why.
Full and triggering?
Overweight and obese is literally just having too much body fat.
So Jillian has so much experience with this. She might not have a deep understanding of E followed by letter D, but she's dealt with it so much that to her it's like, whatever. That's basically her approach. And she really came at this whole thing from a de-escalating standpoint for the most part, because she's trying to appeal to the general public, which makes sense from an activistic perspective.
It's nothing to do with the quality of the person.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Are we going to debate the claim?
Yeah,
Or
I just
are
wanted
we
to.
Gonna,
Yeah, I wanted to clarify though the
are
language.
we going to pretend like I'm a 3 and you're my mommy, telling me how to talk?
Wow.
Hey, did you hear the zombie in the background? Oh, ugh. What is that? So remember, zombies speak through moaning, I guess. That's why the metaphor, I believe, works so well, because there's a lot of nonverbal communication. It's a lot of emotional communication. So it's, oh. And then she's like, oh. Let's see who did it first.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify though the
Are
language.
we going to pretend like I'm a 3 and you're my mommy, telling me how to talk?
Wow.
Okay. So she did it first, and then the zombie followed. Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
I wonder too if there's an aspect of being a runner where you feel like you feel good about yourself because maybe they try to lead a lot of the time. It's like I can lead the horde or something. Like it's like a way to have power or something. It's interesting. This is just my own research, so sorry if I'm cringe.
So the claim that you're saying is that it is inherently unhealthy to live in a fat body.
It's inherently unhealthy to have excess body fat, yes.
Okay, where are you getting that information from?
Oh, okay. There are dozens.
Reality. That's basically what I would have said. But I won't even entertain it. She will entertain it. I get why she does. I don't think I would.
Of MRT trials that show having excess body fat, dozens, is causal, not
Oh,
correlated.
no, that's not true. There's no.
Blatant reality denial. So that happens all the time within this. So I do wonder what her motivations are, but I think a lot of people view her as like toxically empathetic. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's just enabling.
Disease that just fat-bodied people get.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But obesity lends itself to all-cause mortality across the board. Have you heard of something called adiposopathy? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you know it means literally sick fat. And you understand how it works? Mm-hmm. Okay, tell me how it works.
So it's an additional layer of fat in the stomach area.
No, that's not what it is. It works as follows. When we eat too much food that has energy that we're not utilizing, the body needs to put that energy somewhere, right? So it puts it in fat.
So I'll let her get into this whole point, which I do think is interesting. But the reason why she's, I think, more engaging with this person in particular is because this person is not fully within the E followed by the letter D. So you have to understand too that within zombie infection, a person that's not fully in it, they're going to be more logical. So they're going to seem more like the general public. Therefore, you can relate to them more. They're like more human-like, right? And I do have an example of her interacting with the clicker on the channel. So the other reaction to this whole thing, that's a clicker. That's somebody that's severe. And you can see how like some human brain function is gone. When you're so in the E followed by the letter D at that point, you lose some of your humanity with moments where I think, I can't remember. It's the one where they did I can't remember her name. I think Marcy is her name. But it's the one where it was the like 10-minute discussion back and forth. But she would literally like flail her arms around and like go, oh, and like act really weird and stuff. So that's kind of zombie behavior. You're not going to get that from a runner. It's too early on in the infection. And not everybody progresses to the next levels.
Fat cells. So it puts it in initially subcutaneous fat cells, a little bit of visceral fat, which is fat around the organs. And at first you have hyperplasia, which means we're recruiting new little fat cells, which isn't necessarily a bad thing up to a point. Now the issue is that once you can no longer recruit more fat cells, right, you get hypertrophy. So the fat cells start to expand. And this is exceptionally dangerous because what ends up happening is the blood vessels get outpaced. So the fat cells can't get oxygen and they start screaming, literally.
So she's bringing this up for activistic purposes. She's trying to educate the general public about the health risks of obesity, which I think is great to do. She's also debating the point and saying that the fatness in and of itself is the issue. So it is a health issue that is caused directly from too much adipose tissue. Something that I have used often on my channel was the fact that at my heaviest, I was 383 at 6'1". I had obesity-induced hypoventilation. So I was not able to breathe because I was literally having physical barriers because of my stomach. I could not breathe. It was obstructing my ability to breathe. So that is literally caused by obesity. It is something that is directly caused by it. And that the only cure for is downsizing. When I downsized, it did reduce in severity to the point where it's gone now. But it took a while because there's even some chemical reasons why you have hypoventilation when you are very big, because it affects your hormones. So regardless, it is caused by obesity. It isn't just a physical obstruction, but at my biggest, it literally was a physical obstruction that caused it.
Really. And when they do, they release cytokines, inflammatory proteins, right?
I want to pause.
Of course you do want to pause. Okay. Because it's irrefutable. You don't even know what I'm talking about. So,
Jillian, okay, first of all, I don't appreciate the way that you're speaking to me right now. You called me out for just trying to understand.
Tone policing, which it doesn't really matter. It's like you need to, if you're going to debate with somebody, you need to say something. But within the zombie, oh my gosh, look at this person behind. Within the zombie horde, emotional signaling is worthwhile. So you have to think of who she's trying to appeal to. She's trying to appeal to zombies, and also she's probably also trying to get more clientele because it's a way for her to signal that she's safe. Again, she's not triggering. What does it mean if you're safe? It means you're not triggering, which means you're not going to increase anxiety in a person. However, remember that within E followed by the letter D, recovery, true recovery does induce anxiety. So if you are not willing to induce any anxiety whatsoever in a client, you are not actually helpful, because recovery is triggering in and of itself, in the sense that recovering will cause anxiety. Why? Because you experience anxiety and you have to deal with it without the coping mechanism in order to recover. So if she's not willing to ever make a person anxious or challenge a belief system or challenge anything, then she will not make the client anxious, but she also will not help them recover. But she will get money from them. So there are a lot of people that are financially motivated as well within the zombieism. But the difference is somebody who's just purely making money, they don't actually believe what they're saying. She does believe it. That's why she's a zombie. She actually believes the bullshit she's spouting.
And the languaging and saying I was talking to like a 3-year-old, I felt like I was talking to you very respectfully. You're talking to me very disrespectfully right now.
Here's the thing.
She's just being direct. This is not a therapy session. This is a debate.
You're telling me you understand it, but you don't understand it. You fundamentally didn't describe it accurately.
But what I
True.
understand is that
What's lipotoxicity?
I don't want to talk about, I am not, okay, here, I'm going to say this straight out. I am not a medical doctor, okay? So I'm not going to talk to you about medical diagnosis because that's outside my scope, and I'm fully
That's the
willing,
claim.
hey, I'm fully,
Yeah, so she's saying that's the claim, basically stating, then why are you debating me? If you don't know anything about this, why are you debating me? My answer to you is she's doing it to show allegiance to the zombie horde. It has nothing to do with the point, it has nothing to do with the logic, it has everything to do with the emotions, probably some form of self-promotion, as well as signaling to the rest of the crowd or the zombie horde that she's safe. That's what this is about. It has nothing to do with the point, because obviously they're wrong. They're not living in reality. She's not living in reality either, because she truly believes that it's not unhealthy to be obese, which is just false. It is completely false. And it's very obviously false, and she has no argument against it. Jillian has arguments. She doesn't. But it's not about the argument. It's about the feeling, the emotion, the signaling, the group mentality, the zombie horde. That's what it's about.
fully willing to be wrong. What I am here to talk to you about,
I'm a nice person. I'm willing to be wrong. So people within E followed by the letter D, they use niceness. There's a lot of like nicey nice is important. And then they use pride and shame a lot. So, and people don't understand that, but it's because so much of the issue is framed around body image. And body image is something that you can feel prideful about as well as shameful about. So, and you have to understand that somebody within the issue, that is the center of their life. Their whole life revolves around it, especially if they're severe. And a lot of people in the general public don't understand that. You have incredibly obsessive ideas about your body all the time, 24/7, especially if you're at like a clicker level, you're severe, like I was. So when you're very severe, it is literally your entire life. Your whole identity is fatness. Everything you think about is your weight all the time. And that is true in the case of the reductive side as well, like within Anna and Mia as well. Especially if it's severe, then you're always thinking about your body and the size of it. And that's your entire identity. That's all you think about. And people don't get it, like the emotional pitch of it, it's a ritual. So I call it the toxic ritualistic. It is almost, it's like a cult. It's an attempt at a grounding exercise for anxiety. So it's like, I'm anxious, I'm going to think about it. I think about my body. Something happened that I can't control, I'm going to think about my body. And so how many times a day does something happen that we can't control? Pretty often. How many times in a month? Pretty often. So if that person's severe, they're always thinking about it. They're going to think about reduction, body image, or bingo, aka eating food. So they're going to think about that. The food that they're eating, the food that they're not eating, all that. but it's constant. And that's especially if severe. If it's not as severe, then it's not literally all the time, but it's often. It's probably at least, 4 times a day or something, When you're very severe, though, it's probably like once every hour, maybe once every 30 minutes, at least. So that's why pride and shame come up so often within the zombie horde mentality. So if she says, I'm a nice person, it's like, I won't ever make you feel insecure. I won't ever cause anxiety in you. I will walk on those eggshells around you. That's what she's saying, which that's what runners do, which is very enabling. Let's just be real about it. It's enabling.
Is the fact that people
And it would be the same thing if somebody was too thin and you're like, I will just never say anything about it. I'll believe that your weight is genetic. I'll believe that you're just naturally that, thin. I'll just believe it because I won't challenge it. You see? So you can do it for the reductive side too. And people do all the time. Oh, they're just naturally that way. But it happens too with being big as well.
fat bodies are irreparably harmed going into the medical system every single day because of the term, the O word.
So that's what you want to litigate?
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the claim, though.
Yeah.
The idea.
She's trying to control the conversation, which this is not her. She's not hosting it. But you have to see, this is how zombies take over. So you see how she's trying to take over, completely change the conversation, completely change the direction of everything because she's trying to control it. And so I do wonder if even in runners, there is an issue of control. But I think in her case, she's doing it to appease other people. So there's like that people-pleasing aspect often in somebody that doesn't have the issue. But she's pushed forward by the zombie horde mentality, which is, let's take this conversation that's meant to describe especially the health issues behind E followed by the letter D, which we never talk about. That is sacrosanct within the zombie mentality. You never, ever talk about it. And so let's change the conversation entirely to obesity as a word. So we will deflect it completely from the point and try to get Jillian to not talk about it because we don't want this to be talked about. And then we'll somehow gaslight and say that talking about the health consequences is actually less healthy or causes worse health outcomes, which makes no sense. That is literally so illogical. It is gaslighting. So I think she gets into that soon.
That fat-bodied people are inherently unhealthy is, I believe, incorrect.
It's true. So if I were there, I can speak zombie language and I can be like, it's true. So you see how that is? That is emotional communication, which the general public doesn't like it. The general public wants you to be calm and rational all the time, which it doesn't work with zombies, which is why they take over. Like, I want you guys to know in the general public, if you insist on everybody having rational, decent conversations that are purely logical with no emotion about this issue, you are part of the problem of why they take over, because you have to assert emotional dominance over them. So you cannot do that. You can't reason, rationalize. You can't do that because they're not in reality. A runner, somebody who's not even in the E followed by letter D, they're still brainwashed. She's brainwashed. So she's just brainwashed. She just hasn't translated that into behavior necessarily. Or it hasn't reached a clinical level. So you have to assert that in order to fight it back. So you have to say, no. So you see that tone, that's emotional. It's not healthy. Oh, and then they'd be like, oh, and I'm like, oh. I would even mirror it back to them. I'd be like, oh. What are they going to do with me? Jack shit. They can't get anywhere with that. That's the thing. I can be emotional too. You see, that's how you communicate zombie on zombie. And I know that because I used to be one. So it kind of renders the attack ineffective, basically. But to the general public, you're seen as a huge asshole, or you're so mean, or you're vindictive, or you're illogical, you're immature because you have an emotion. And I want you to know, if that's your attitude, you are encouraging it because you're not going to let it actually be defeated. This is why they take over institutions, because people within those institutions try to be logical and reasonable all the time, which of course you should be logical and reasonable, but it's okay to push back emotionally too. It is okay to use emotion to back up a logical point. If I'm saying obesity is not healthy, if I use that tone, is the point that I'm saying illogical because I had a tone? No. It's using tone and logic at the same time. Emotion and logic at the same time. That's how you fight this. And that's how you prevent it from taking over an institution. So we got to change how we fight this, which Jillian, I think, was holding back in this moment because she's trying to appeal to the general public. And that is an issue in American society where we over glamorize not being emotional, even though Americans are incredibly emotional as a people. We are we probably are the most emotional people in the world. So we kind of like I don't know what the word is. We overrate like stoicism in America because there's such a lack of it. I'll put it to you that way. It's so scarce here.
You're wrong.
No, I'm not
There's a
wrong.
robust amount of data.
I'm
But
not wrong.
the issue activistically is you often have to choose then, because the two goals are not aligned. You have to choose, am I going to fight the zombie horde or am I going to appeal to the general public? Jillian is appealing to the general public. I think both have a utility in the moment, depending on the context. So it's up to the activists to decide. And she's siding with the general public, so she's not going to necessarily change any minds within the zombie horde in the room, but she's going to appeal to the general public and help bolster reality in the general public and also expose how zombified they are, which was very effective. And that can totally work activistically too. So if you come at something less hostile, then that will also work because you kind of let them speak and then they sound crazy to the general public. So that can also work too. However, in isolation, when it's not public, so like if, let's say they're having this conversation at NIDA, you can be overwhelmed. Most people do not have enough integrity to withstand zombie attack, especially group zombie attacks. So everybody, are you the type of person where can you disagree with every single person in the room and hold your integrity? If you can't, then you're vulnerable to zombieism. So think about that. Most people are followers. I'm just going to be real. Most people will cave. They cave, especially super logical people, because they don't understand emotional manipulation. They don't understand emotional arguments. They don't understand emotional dominance. So again, a lot of us that are more emotional, myself included, it's up to us to fight back on this stuff because we have to fight back emotionally too.
Okay, so
Because
let
you
me
can't
finish
look,
the
you
thought.
can't look at.
Then let me finish the
Let me
thought.
finish my thought first,
Okay.
please. You can't look at a person's body and tell whether or not tell their health status.
That's false. That is completely false. I would have said, if you saw somebody with a gunshot in their chest and there was blood gushing out, would you say that you can't look at that person and say that they're unhealthy? That would make her look like an idiot. But you have to be quick too. So it depends on how you're going about it. I do think Jillian has the ability to do that, but it's just the approach she took, which Jubilee is hostile. Let's just be real. Jubilee is very fat acceptance. So Jillian knew where she was going into. I would know that to a certain extent too. So you have to be kind of careful. Like there's a lot of factors that go into this. And I want people to understand the activistic side too, because it's also, it's not like Jillian can host this herself. It's not like that.
So fat is an endocrine organ. When it overgrows,
True.
it does wreak havoc in the body. I didn't finish.
So she's trying to speak emotionally, but she's trying to do it from like a more soft or empathetic type of emotion, but she still has that emotional communication. So there's still something, but she's trying that approach. In my opinion, I think you have to be more aggressive. That's my opinion. So I would say what I said, basically. And what would she say to that? She'd look like an idiot, which she still did, and Jillian still got her to look like an idiot, but it would have been even more idiot-like, in my opinion.
Finish telling you what happens. So when the oxygen can't get to those fat cells, they'll die and they'll
So she
rupture.
just nods, but just denying reality doesn't mean anything. You can nod, it doesn't mean anything.
And then the immune system starts dumping macrophages in to try to clean it up.
But do you know what's
But they
even more
can't clean it
unhealthy
up.
is weight cycling.
See?
And as we talked about earlier,
So she's trying to shift the conversation. Now she's gaslighting and saying, if you talk about the health risks of weight, you're actually causing people to be less healthy, which is the complete opposite of reality. That is complete gaslighting. So that's where that shifted. And then you see the
except for
zombie horde.
your people
Nodding.
who
claim. If you want to talk about that claim, we can. The claim is
So then what are
that
you supposed
having-
to do though? So let's say this person is in a fat body and they are
You lose weight. You stop bingo. You stop binging. You lose weight. You stop the behaviors. Just like if you were on the reductive side, you would have to upsize. Just like if you are within Mia, you have to stop the P behaviors. You cease the behavior. That's what you do, zombie. You cease the behaviors.
inherently unhealthy, right? We're telling they're unhealthy because they're in this
The
fat
vast
body.
majority
What are
of
they supposed to
people will
do?
be
Normalize weight.
significantly more prone to all-cause mortality. For me,
Intentional weight loss fails 95 to
That's not true.
98% of the time. So what
tell
is
me
the
why though? You would probably know this better than me.
because weight is not an individualistic pursuit.
That makes zero sense. Weight is a completely individualistic pursuit. So she is literally stating the exact opposite of fact. It is complete doublespeak, cult-like behavior, insanity. Insanity. If she would have said this to me, I would have said, what the hell do you even mean? How is it not an individualistic pursuit? What are you even talking about? It is the most individualistic pursuit you could ever have. That's the whole appeal of it within the E followed by the letter D world, is that you are in control of it. Because it is in some cases when people are going through trauma or when they've gone through trauma, it's the only thing they had control over on an individualistic level. You stupid ass. So it's absolutely individualistic. That's the whole appeal. That's the coping mechanism. That's the control. And I guarantee you, if I would have said something like this on this panel, and then there were clips of it, there'd be all these comments saying, I'm so wrong and you can't believe it. Because if you ever point out that a person's in control of it, they freak because you want to hide that. The whole point is to hide it so that you don't have to stop. The whole goal is to never stop. That's the point.
You narrow it down to this idea that it's causal, like that they're just not trying.
It
hard enough.
is.
But
No,
that
I
is
didn't say that. It's multifactorial.
True.
Unquestionable.
She's right.
A lot of people lose weight. The problem, right, is that they put it back on. Are we in agreement?
Yes. And the reason they do that is because they are within BING.
Okay, great. Why do you think?
Okay, we got to pause there.
God damn it! All right.
All right. So that's this interaction with a runner. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I made sense. I'm working on my message the best that I can. I know zombies will be like, you're not making any sense. You're crazy. But I can still tell when a zombie is a zombie because I used to be one. So it takes one to know one. And all I can say is to people who are in recovery, who are having a warm bodies experience, who are self-aware, I'm with you. People like me who are immune, who have recovered and are never going back, with you. And people who are a general public, I'm trying to teach you. I'm trying to have you understand because it is insanity, literally. It is insane. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. Peace.